I'm Elsie.
And I'm Debbie.
And we're Two Sisters Southern Cooking. Hey y'all, so we are making a pot roast today with carrots and potatoes. I'm leaving out the onions, which I would typically like in a pot roast, but Roger doesn't like onions, so we're just going to leave the onions out. So we got carrots and potatoes already diced up and ready to go. We are going to brown our meat on all sides before we get the rest of the ingredients in, which we're putting au jus gravy mix, beef stock,
salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper. It's fairly simple, really. So we have salt and pepper in this flour, so we're just gonna flour the sides. This will help give you a gravy if you use the flour.
And we may have to add water to our stock as well as it goes.
Yeah.
Just in case, because it might get pretty thick from the brown gravy and the au jus gravy plus the gravy from what we're making here from the beef stock. We put in 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of black pepper with 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and that will make our flour dredge.
And if you had self-rising flour, you could use that in. It doesn't matter what flour you use.
Just remember, if it's self-rising, it also has baking powder in it, and you might want to be careful with that because it might cause the crust on this to rise as well while it's cooking. So,
all right, we're going to the stove now, so follow us to the stove and we'll get started with the browning of the roast. Hey y'all, so I just put the first piece of meat into the pan. I'm going to cook it for about 5 minutes on each side. I brown it, and then we will put the meat back in a pan until I get them all done, because I have 4 of them to do this too. Then we'll put them all back in and add our liquids and our gravy packets, and then get it started cooking, y'all. Hey y'all, so it's been 5 minutes on the first side. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. And let it cook for
so good.
Yeah, and we're going to let it cook for 5 minutes on the other side, and then I'm going to put it in this tray until we get the rest of them done the same exact way, and we'll be back shortly. Hey y'all, so I'm taking up the last piece of roast here, and we're going to add in our red wine to deglaze. And then we'll add in our other liquids. This red wine will give it a richer, deeper flavor. And scraping the bottom to get all the good bits off the bottom of the pan. I'm going to add in my beef broth. I have 2 containers. We'll do that, and then if we have to, we'll add in some water as well. You want your roast to be completely covered. I'm gonna add back in my roast.
This is how I did it. I pushed down and then I cross
And I'm gonna cook these on high for an hour, and then we'll see how it is doing it at an hour time, and then we will either leave it on high, it just depends on how it's cooking, or move it down to medium heat for another hour, and then we'll check it again. What you want is you want your roast to become tender before you add in your vegetables. That was four more cups of water, so we got 12 cups of liquid in there to cover up the meat. All right, we're gonna let this come to a boil, and then we will show you the next. So I have my 2 gravy packets here that I'm gonna add in. We haven't gotten up to a boil yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and mix this in. That is the au jus gravy mix. Okay. Now I have my brown gravy packet. Stir this in. All right, I'm going to taste it and see if it needs more salt. Yeah, it needs a little more salt. All we had was salt on the meat itself, so we did not salt the liquid at all. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of salt, and then stir it around, and then taste it again and see if that's enough. Rinse my spoon off. Yeah, let Deborah taste it as well as me. The salt is fine, but it's lacking something, so we're going to put a teaspoon of onion powder in and see if that gives it a more rounded flavor.
The joys of creating your own recipes. This is great.
Much better. All right, y'all, that did the trick. That tastes fabulous.
Oh, that's
That did
good.
that did the trick.
Mmm.
All right, y'all. So we'll be back shortly.
Very full, rounded beef flavor with just, it's so good. Oh my gosh, very good.
All right, y'all. We took our meat out. We put our carrots and potatoes in. We're going to bring them up to a boil and cook them till they're tender. Could be 20 minutes. It could be 30 minutes. I'm not sure how long it's going to take for them to become tender. So we will see you shortly.
Hey y'all, this is most likely not going to be a step that you will have to do because you're going to be probably using a smaller roast than us. But we ended up using, how many pounds was it, Elsie?
About 4 pounds.
As a large roast. So we don't have enough room in our pot for the vegetables to cook correctly. So we took our meat out. So while that is happening, this is very tender. I'm going to go ahead and chunk these into pieces here. This is, look at that. So when we get ready to serve dinner, we'll probably have this, I don't know, are we putting it back into the pot, Elsie?
No.
Okay. She said no. So we're probably just going to put this in the pan. We are going to have it chunked up. I think we're probably going to need to put some of the gravy over top of this to keep it moist, because we don't want it to end up drying out, because we will be putting it in the oven with tin foil to keep it warm. We're not going to have the oven on. It's just going to be the heat from the stove. So, but we don't want it to dry out. Look how tender that is. Oh my gosh. We debated about how we were going to cook this. We were going to do it in a crock pot, and there's just something about cooking this on the stove where you know when it's tender and it's done, and you don't have tough meat. And this here is super tender. This doesn't have to go into an Instapot. It doesn't have to be, this is just cooked the old-fashioned way on the stove. So, this is very tender. Oh yeah. Move this over just a little bit here. That's a lot of meat, guys. All right, so we got all of our meat cut up. I'm going to gently put this back in here, and I'm going to take this and just swipe this in here so we have all the good flavoring from our beef.
I'm adding in 1 teaspoon of salt because we've had to add water to it. Now we're going to add back our meat. All right, our meat is back in with our potatoes and carrots. So we're gonna go ahead and get this ready to serve. So we shall see you in our next video. I'm Elsie.
And I'm Debbie.
And we're Two Sisters Southern Cooking.
Please like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you.